Bhuvaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Eva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 Reading from chapter 9, text 34. Chapter 10, please tell me to come back to 34 because we haven't read properly yet. We'll read it. Manmana bhava madbhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru mame vaishasi utvarivam atmanam matparayana. Translation. Engage your mind always in thinking of me. Become my devotee. Offer obeisances to me and worship me. Being completely absorbed in me, surely you will come to me. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. In this verse, it is clearly indicated that Krishna consciousness is the only means of being delivered from the clutches of this contaminated material world. Sometimes unscrupulous commentators distort the meaning of what is clearly stated here, that all devotional service should be offered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Unfortunately, unscrupulous commentators divert the mind of the reader to that which is not at all feasible. Such commentators do not know that there is no difference between Krishna's mind and Krishna. Krishna is not an ordinary human being. He is absolute truth. His body, his mind, and he himself are one and absolute. It is stated in the Kurma Purana, as it is quoted by Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami in his Anubhashya, comments on Chaitanya Charitamrita, Deha Dehi Vibhedo Yam Neshvare Vidyate Kvachit. This means that there is no difference in Krishna, the Supreme Lord, between himself and his body. But because the commentators do not know this science of Krishna, they hide Krishna and divide his personality from his mind or from his body. Although this is sheer ignorance of the science of Krishna, some men make profit out of misleading people. There are some who are demonic. They also think of Krishna, but enviously, just like King Kamsa, Krishna's uncle. He was also thinking of Krishna always, but he thought of Krishna as his enemy. He was always in anxiety, wondering when Krishna would come to kill him. That kind of thinking will not help us. One should be thinking of Krishna in devotional love. That is bhakti. One should cultivate the knowledge of Krishna continuously. What is that favorable cultivation? It is to learn from a bona fide teacher. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and we have several times explained that his body is not material, but is eternal, blissful knowledge. This kind of talk about Krishna will help one become a devotee. Understanding Krishna otherwise, from the wrong source, will prove fruitless. One should therefore engage his mind in the eternal form, the primal form of Krishna. With conviction in his heart that Krishna is the Supreme, he should engage himself in worship. There are hundreds and thousands of temples in India for the worship of Krishna, and devotional service is practiced there. When such practice is made, one has to offer obeisances to Krishna. One should lower his head before the deity and engage his mind, his body, his activities, everything. That will make one fully absorbed in Krishna without deviation. This will help one transfer to Krishna Loka. One should not be deviated by unscrupulous commentators. One must engage in the 9 different processes of devotional service, beginning with hearing and chanting Lord Krishna. Pure devotional service is the highest achievement of human society. The 7th and 8th chapters of Bhagavad Gita have explained pure devotional service to the Lord that is free from speculative knowledge, mystic yoga, and fruitive activities. Those who are not purely sanctified may be attracted by different features of the Lord, like the impersonal Brahma Jyoti and localized Paramatma. But a pure devotee directly takes to the service of the Supreme Lord. There is a beautiful poem about Krishna in which it is clearly stated that any person who is engaged in the worship of demigods is most unintelligent and cannot achieve at any time the supreme award of Krishna. The devotee in the beginning may sometimes fall from the standard, but still he should be considered superior to all other philosophers and yogis. One who always engages in Krishna consciousness should be understood to be a perfectly saintly person. His accidental non-devotional activities will diminish, and he will soon be situated without any doubt in complete perfection. The pure devotee has no actual chance to fall down, because the Supreme Godhead personally takes care of the pure devotee. Therefore, the intelligent person should take directly to the process of Krishna consciousness and happily live in this material world. He will eventually receive the supreme award of Krishna. So, this verse is quite significant because it's perhaps the only verse in which Krishna repeats himself word for word almost. The first half of the verse is repeated exactly in chapter 18, verse 65. But it brings me on to another thing, that there are certain concepts in the Bhagavad Gita that are repeated over and over again. Now, Vidai Prabhu, he leads Bhagavad Gita Ashraya class, so I feel ashamed to be saying anything in front of him. He should be giving the class really, but I'll try my best. So there are a few concepts that are repeated over and over in the Bhagavad Gita. And this is one of them, perhaps the most important, maybe second most important. First concept that is most repeated is from chapter 2. Krishna says, Karmanyeva adhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phalahe turbhut ma te sangosva karmani. You have the right to perform your prescribed duty, but you do not have you should not feel entitled to the fruits of your activities. Never be, paraphrasing, never be attached to not doing your duty. So that is one of the concepts that's repeated over and over again. It's how to do your duty, basically. Another is equanimity. Also read in chapter 2 over and over again. Equanimity is a consistent theme across the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says to Arjuna, Sukha dukhe same kritva labha labho jaya jayo tato yudhaya yujyasva naivam papam avapsyasi. He said to Krishna, do thou fight for the sake of fighting, without considering happiness or distress, loss or gain, victory or defeat. And by so doing, you shall never incur sin. So this point of being equal in all circumstances is also repeated. Also repeated is the Atma, the fact that the Atma is imperishable, like in the Vishnu Sahasranama, you'll have heard, Avikaraya, Shuddhaya, Nityaya, Paramatmane. So that's repeated again. Well, that's not directly pertaining to the Atma, but the Atma is talked about a lot in the Bhagavad Gita. Also, Bhakti of course, we're studying from chapter 9, but Bhakti is over and over repeated as the superior process for attaining God realization over the processes of Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, and Yoga itself. Also, the supremacy of the Lord Shri Krishna is repeated by Krishna himself. Krishna confirms himself to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then Arjuna praises him after he sees the Vishwarupa. And towards the end, Sanjaya also praises Krishna, saying, where Krishna and Arjuna is, there shall be no defeat. And then finally this verse in particular, I suppose you could also say this is part of Bhakti, but this verse is repeated in exact words in chapter 18. Engage your mind always in thinking of me, become my devotee, offer obeisance to me and worship me, being completely absorbed in me, surely you will come to me. I mentioned there's one verse perhaps, now there's no ranking in the spiritual world, there's no such thing as better or worse, but perhaps a more conclusive directive by Krishna is the verse right after the one mirrored in the 18th chapter. Sarvadharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja. Abandon all varieties of dharma and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reaction. Do not fear. The reason I'm saying that it is perhaps a more conclusive directive is that surrender yourself to me. Ashraya sharanagati. That concept means surrender everything. So here, Krishna is just saying, engage your mind. your mind is not yourself proper. The mind is part of it. The mind is temporary. You'll only have your mind so long as you're not diseased, so long as you have this body. But soon you'll die, and soon you won't have your mind anymore. So, surrender pertains to not only the mind, but before the mind, the body, then the mind, then the intelligence, and finally the soul itself. So, you can't just go straight ahead and surrender your soul because you have no knowledge of how to do that. So the prescribed method is to first surrender your body, mind, intelligence, and then surrender your soul. So that's why Sarvadharma Paripujya would perhaps be a more conclusive directive, but this is also very important because it's a step towards ultimate Sharanagati. That's what the whole point of the Bhagavad Gita is, to finally surrender to the Lord. We're all trying to surrender to the Lord. All the yogis, all the bhaktas, they're desperately trying to surrender to the Lord with all that they have, and that's the only way if you sincerely try to surrender to the Lord. So back to the verse, Srila Prabhupada said in one of his lectures that, and he was talking about this verse in particular, he said, the point is that someone has to identify with something. Yeah, so he says, it's a bit off topic, but yeah, what he said is someone has to identify with something. Srila Prabhupada would often say in his books and his talks that people have the tendency to do something, and then later on he'd relate that back to Krishna. So, for example, again I'm paraphrasing, he'd say, you've been given a mouth. What are you going to do with that mouth? You're going to speak about Krishna, you're going to eat Krishna Prasad. You've been given eyes. What are you going to do with your eyes? You're going to see the deity form of Krishna. You have the propensity to love and be loved. All human beings want to be loved, they want to love. In the Nectar of Devotion, it's rather poignant, at the start of the Nectar of Devotion, Srila Prabhupada says, every human being has a tendency to love, but nothing that the people love is permanent, except for God. So, Krishna says, direct your love towards Krishna, and surely your efforts shall prove to be fruitful. Again, I'm paraphrasing. Also, rendering charity, giving away money. Srila Prabhupada says, everyone has a tendency to give away in charity, everyone has a tendency to give poor people money, this kind of thing. So, use your tendency to give charity away, and give money to the Krishna consciousness movement. That's what Srila Prabhupada would say. Also, interestingly, Srila Prabhupada said, all people have the tendency to travel. It's quite curious. In one of the purposes of Srimad Bhagavatam, Srila Prabhupada said, everyone has a tendency to travel, to go places. So this is seen practically. Everyone wants to go on holidays to Tenerife, like Manu Prabhu will be in Tenerife right now. And people want to go on holidays to take a break from their work. But we're severely limited by, just our capacity to travel. So if you want to travel very far, you can't walk anymore. You have to take a car. If you want to go all the way to Tenerife, all the way back to India, back to Vrindavan, you have to take a plane for sure. So we're severely limited. But the reason Srila Prabhupada made this point in his purport is because he was talking about Srila Narada Muni. Srila Prabhupada liked to call Narada Muni the eternal spaceman because of Narada Muni's being surrendered to the lotus feet of Krishna. He's a surrendered soul. For that reason, he has Prapti Siddhi. He's the ability to travel anywhere he likes. And if you've ever heard Abhigiraj Prabhu's lectures, he says Narada Muni can go to any country and he doesn't require any visas. So, Narada Muni, and this is also seen practically in Gaura Lila. Narada Muni has also was in Gaura Lila in Mayapur Dham. Does anyone know who Narada Muni was in Gaura Lila? Probably. Yes, Srivas Pandit, of course. He's on the far right of the Panchatattva. So, Narada Muni is portrayed as a perfect devotee in the Panchatattva, and he rendered service to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is Mahaprabhu Sri Chaitanya Radha Krishna Nayanya Rupanuga Janira Jivana. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is not different to Radha Krishna. It's a mistake to think that they're different to each other. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu incarnated to love Krishna in the mood that Radharani loved Krishna, because he himself could not experience such an emotion as Radharani, such a transcendental emotion. Anyway, regarding this verse in particular, Srila Prabhupada said in a lecture, the people have the tendency to identify with something. So people in general have a tendency to identify with a sports team, like a football team or cricket team, or a political party. I know my dad, he loves his political party, he's very opinionated. A lot of people are very opinionated about political parties. Their likes, their dislikes, people get together for their hobbies. So in so many ways, people have different groups to do different things, and they identify with these things, and so they get part of this group, and they identify themselves in so many ways. So, for example, they say, "My name is Pradyumna. I'm 20 years old. I'm from Nepal," and they identify themselves in so many ways, and by doing so, they entangle themselves further and further in Maya. So why? What if this is, because that's not our real identity. Our real identity is not that I'm Pradyumna. I'm from Nepal. I was born in so and so place. Our real identity is the Atma, the soul proper, which is the eternal servant of the Lord Shri Krishna. So why? Why do we identify with so many things? Well, it's really a survival mechanism. Even the animals do it. So, the wolves hunt in packs in the sea, the fish swim together so they're protected from the sharks. Because there's safety in numbers, they're less likely to die. People like to associate with like-minded people. So just as birds of a feather flock together, the humans also bunch together based on their likes, based on their dislikes, based on their race. They say, I'm English, I'm white, I'm black. All these different dualities of material nature. Not understanding that it's quite an animalistic thing to do. Even the wolves do it, even the dogs hunt in packs. And that's what the whole point of spiritual process is to try and get away from the animalistic process and try to be more humane and realize what the purpose of human birth is to render devotional service to Lord Shri Krishna. Actually, there's no other birth in which it is so appropriate to render service to Lord Shri Krishna. Even the demigods wish to take birth as humans because it is so apt for us to perform the devotional service in this condition as a human. But I know I was saying it's bad to be tribalistic, but even in ISKCON, we are quite tribalistic. There's no doubt about it. People, we like to associate with like-minded people. Sadhu Sangha, it's called. It's the first step of devotional service. So you might say you're being hypocritical. Then how can the people who are who really like BJP, they can be together, but then if you really like ISKCON, how is it different? Point being that this association is of a different nature altogether. Association with Vaishnavas and faith in the Vaishnavas in their instructions is the first step on the path of bhakti. We go through so many lives of birth, death, rebirth, through the cycle of samsara, and we pass through in total ignorance of the truth. But the Vaishnavas, merciful as they are, they give the fallen souls of this age a fighting chance for liberation. Even though this age is full of hypocrisy, full of quarrel, even though moral principles are degraded in the society today, the Vaishnavas have mercifully taken form by the grace of Krishna, and they have given us the chance for liberation and, for more importantly, Krishna Prem. If we do not take advantage of Vaishnava association in this human birth, there's no doubt our lives are spoiled, because in no other birth, you may have taken birth as a pig, as a dog, you may take birth in the heavenly planets, you may take birth in the hellish planets, but the chance to associate with Vaishnavas is here and now. And without association with the Vaishnavas, with people like Giriraj Prabhu, our lives are spoiled and our culture is ruined. And I don't say this lightly. Our advancement is not determined by our effort alone. No doubt there has to be effort in our side for spiritual advancement. We have to follow the prescribed instructions. But by a much more significant margin, it is due to our association with the Vaishnavas, by the Vaishnavas' mercy, and through them the Krishna's mercy, that we advance spiritually. Also, it depends on the quality of Vaishnavas we associate with. There are some Vaishnavas some so-called Vaishnavas that have impersonalistic outlook on philosophy, on Vedanta, and we encourage you not to take association with them. We encourage you to take association with people who worship Krishna as a personal form, who are situated in Vaikuntha or Golokdham. The Vaishnavas, despite our sincere effort, a sincere effort will surely be foiled by the brutal force of Maya Devi. But the Vaishnavas are like desire trees. They can fulfill the desires of everyone. And because they save the fallen souls of this age, they're called Patita Pavan. And so, for the class, we chant the Vaishnava Pranam mantra, Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. And we do our little bit to repay back the Vaishnavas what they gave us. So, now back to the verse. Circling back, it's necessary to, again, engage your mind in thinking of Krishna, becoming Krishna's devotee, offering obeisances to Krishna, and worshipping Krishna. None of these things can be done in truth without the causeless mercy of Krishna, without the causeless mercy of the Vaishnavas, because the Vaishnavas are surrendered souls to Krishna. So this is required. So how can this be done practically? How can you practically associate with the Vaishnavas? Well, you can talk to Vaishnavas like Gita Prabhu, like Manu Prabhu. We have many Vaishnavas in ISKCON Dublin. You can read the books of written by Vaishnavas, like Srila Prabhupada has so many books. We have so many books on sale in ISKCON Dublin. And you can listen to their lectures. It's free to access. And all these are ways of associating with Vaishnavas, which is the prime benediction of our birth in this human life. But you're off to a good start. You're in the Bhagavad Gita discussion already, so it's not too bad. Okay, I just want to read the mirror verse that's similar to this one in 1865. It starts the same way, yes. Manmana bhava madbhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru mame vaishyasi satyam te pratijane priyosi me. Translation: always think of me, become my devotee, worship me, and offer your homage unto me. Thus you will come to me without fail. I promise you this because you are my very dear friend. Purport: the most confidential part of knowledge is that one should become a pure devotee of Krishna and always think of him and act for him. One should not become an official mediator. Life should be so molded that one will always have the chance to think of Krishna. One should always act in such a way that all his daily activities are in connection with Krishna. He should arrange his life in such a way that throughout the 24 hours he cannot but think of Krishna. And the Lord's promise is that anyone who is in such pure Krishna consciousness will certainly return to the abode of Krishna, where he will be engaged in the association of Krishna face to face. This most confidential part of knowledge is spoken to Arjuna because he is the dear friend of Krishna. Everyone who follows the path of Arjuna can become a dear friend to Krishna and obtain the same perfection as Arjuna. These words stress that one should concentrate his mind upon Krishna, the very form with two hands carrying a flute, the bluish boy with a beautiful face and peacock feathers in his hair. There are descriptions of Krishna found in the Brahma Samhita and other literatures. One should fix his mind on his original form of Godhead, Krishna. One should not even divert his attention to other forms of the Lord. The Lord has multi-forms as Vishnu, Narayana, Rama, Varaha, etc. But a devotee should concentrate his mind on the form that was present before Arjuna. Concentration of the mind on the form of Krishna constitutes the most confidential part of knowledge. And this is disclosed to Arjuna because Arjuna is the most dear friend of Krishna's. Some people may not like this verse, but it's quite interesting because the form that was in front of Arjuna was Parthasati, the one who rode Arjuna's chariot. But actually, in Gaudiya Vaishnava Siddhanta, we worship Krishna as Jugala Kishore, I think is the name, when they're teenagers. That is the ultimate goal of our worship. Again, it says a devotee should concentrate his mind on one form only. The reason they say to avoid Vishnu Narayana Rama is not because they're not also genuine forms, is because the devotion only works if you direct your attention to one form. So if you're directing your attention to just one form, then you're genuinely carrying out devotional service. Also, the Brahma Samhita has been brought up. I'm glad it's been brought up. Brahma Samhita was found by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Adikeshwar Perumal in Kanyakumari, and it was recovered. Not the whole thing was recovered, but a part of it was recovered, and because it was recovered so late, and it's only part of it's there. It's not as famous a text as maybe other texts like Bhagavad Gita is, but it's undoubtedly canonical to Gaudiya Vaishnava Siddhanta. It's very important. Yes. So again, Krishna says, offer your mind, basically. Basically what he's trying to say is, offer your mind to me. During puja, during aarti, we offer so many things to Krishna. We offer the lamp, we offer him some money when we come to the temple. We offer him maybe prasadam, we offer him so many things. No doubt, it is Krishna alone that enjoys these offerings when they're offered with devotion. This is confirmed in the Vishnu Sahasranama. Shri Bhishma Pitama sings, Yajna Bhrit Yajna Krit Yajni Yajna Bhuk Yajna Sadhanaha Yajnanta Krit Yajna Bhukyam Annam Annada Evacha. The name Yajna Bhuk means Krishna enjoys the offerings made to him. So when we offer him a mala, then Krishna enjoys that offering when we offer it with devotion. But actually, the truth of the matter is, Krishna does not require any of these offerings. It's not that he's indifferent, but it is not that Krishna needs us to offer these things to him. They're of, compared to the value that we derive from offering these things to Krishna, Krishna has nearly no value in these offerings. We offer obeisances, we do dandavat pranams before Krishna because it is our duty and because it is our dharma, and that is the prescribed method for us. But Krishna is full in all the 6 opulences. One of the 6 opulences is renunciation. He is the most renounced being. Krishna is the most renounced being. So, why do you think he would need us? Again, the Brahma Samhita is brought up. The Brahma Samhita, Srila Brahmaji sings. Srila Brahmaji is also, actually, before I say it, he's quite significant in our parampara because Brahmaji was the first guru after Krishna. The Brahma Madhava Gaudiya Sampradaya. Krishna hoite chaturmukha, hai Krishna sevan mukha, Brahma hoite narade ramati. Saying Krishna orated the supreme science to Chaturmukhi, so 4 faces. Brahmaji has 4 faces, and he explained the devotion, the means by which devotional service is done to Brahmaji, and then Brahmaji told Narada, Srila Narada Muni, who we said was Srivasa Pandit. But does anyone know who Brahmaji was in Gaura Leela? Do you know who Bidari Prabhu? Who was Sri Brahmaji in Gaura Leela? Yeah. Who was it? Haridas Thakur. Haridas Thakur, yes. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur. In Premadvani, we after we offer obeisance to Srila Prabhupada, we offer obeisance to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Then we offer obeisances to Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur. So yeah, that's the qualification of Brahmaji. Brahmaji is very exalted, and Brahma is in perfect knowledge of the truth. So Brahma in his Brahma Samhita, he sings, Chinta mani prakara sadma sukalpa vriksha laksha vriteshu surabhir abhipalayantam lakshmi sahasrashata sambhrama sevyamanam govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. I worship the primeval Lord Govinda. And one of the verses says that Krishna is always being served by thousands and thousands of Lakshmis with great respect and with great devotion. So, if Sriman Narayana is in Vaikuntha Lok is always being served by thousands of Lakshmis, then what need does he have for our service? In fact, he has no need for our devotional service. The reason we offer devotional service is because it is our constitutional position. We may not realize it, but we are happiest when we are offering transcendental devotional service to Krishna. This is our duty, but it is not because Krishna needs it. Krishna is full in all the opulences. As I said, he's full in renunciation. For this reason, he's known as Tyagaraja. I'm not talking about Tyagaraja, the Carnatic musician, but Tyagaraja, as in he's the sort of the Lord of all sacrifices. So Krishna has no use for any of these things. We have to resolve to surrender. We have to resolve to offering him the most precious thing we have. The most precious thing that we have is not our money. It's not our, our body. It's not even our mind. It's our soul. So right after this verse is Sarva Dharman Parityajya. It's the magnum opus, if you like, of the Bhagavad Gita. It is the conclusion of Bhagavad Gita, is to abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. So Krishna really wants our heart, our mind, our body, and so our soul as well. And by doing so, it's not necessarily that Krishna wants it, but we will be the most happiest. Krishna has partook in the Leela of narrating the Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna, not for Arjuna's sake. Arjuna is a pure devotee. Arjuna does not need to know. For example, Arjuna asked, Atakena prayuktoyam papam charati purushaha, and I don't know the rest of the verse, but he asked, by what is one impelled to sinful action, even against his own will? Arjuna is not impelled to sinful reaction. Arjuna is a pure devotee. And yet he's asking. So there's only one reason he could be asking. It's for our benefit. So Krishna arranged everything so that we would have the Bhagavad Gita for our benefit, so that we would know that devotional service is the highest aim. So for so many countless births, we've been giving our mind and our attention to material objects. We've been giving, even in this life, we've been giving our mind to material objects. All of our attention, it's been going into so many material things like accumulation of wealth, like attracting a partner, like survival. All these things are done for survival, for finally living and trying to be happy in some way or another. And then what? What happens after we try so hard to survive in this world? We're going to die. And no doubt we will die. As sure as we were born, we will die. And when we die, along with our death, everything we loved, everything we had attachments to, or our houses, our wife, our husband, our friends, our parents, all those attachments will be gone. It's not that they're dead, but they're dead to you because you're dead. So you can't enjoy their presence anymore. So this is the inescapable law of nature. So if this is the law of nature, if we know that this is what's going to happen, why are we wasting our time going forth for activities of survival, of maintaining our body? Well, partly because it is our duty, and mostly because it's not recommended to fully renounce everything, go to the forest and meditate on Krishna, because we're not prepared for such a thing. Even if we did that, we would fail in our attempts. So the prescribed method is to continue doing the prescribed duty, and then try gradually to incorporate Krishna's devotional service, the devotional service to Krishna, into your life as you're doing your duty. So why not take advantage of Srila Prabhupada's books in the form of the Bhagavad Gita we're reading right now? And by doing so, you can escape the fourfold miseries: birth, death, old age, disease. I always find interesting that they include birth, death, old age, and disease, but they don't include life. Actually, life can be seemingly harder than all those four things, because we're experiencing life right now, and we may not be diseased, we may not be old, but we're suffering greatly. may be the case that many of you in this room have suffered greatly during the span of your life. Believe me when I say, if you're hoping for a future where you suffer no more, where you're permanently happy, and you choose to do so in isolation of the devotional service to Krishna, then your attempts will surely be foiled. There is no hope for someone who is separated from the devotional service of Krishna. Sure, one can gradually do his duty and eventually come to the very rare birth of a human, and then get association with Vaishnavas. All this is very rare. All this is it's very auspicious symptoms of your life that you have the chance to associate with Vaishnavas. And the fact is, without devotional service to Krishna, you have no hope in alleviating your suffering. And maybe someone might say that I haven't suffered that much. Actually, my life's been pretty good. I've been pretty happy. But Srila Prabhupada writes in his purport to chapter 3, towards one of the end later verses, he says that happiness, that so-called happiness that the living entity experiences, is actually his worst enemy, because this joy is only temporary. Surely that joy will come to an end. So it's no joy at all. I heard Radha Swami Maharaj, one of his lectures, he said it's like taking a drop of water in the middle of a blazing hot desert. That's what enjoyment is like in this material world. Because as soon as you finish enjoying, just as soon as you finish, surely suffering is to ensue. I'm sure people have noticed that it's like a cycle. You suffer, you enjoy, you suffer, you enjoy. So that's a permanent condition of this material world. As long as you're conditioned, as long as you assume that, as long as you are certain in your mind that you're the mind, that you're the body, that, my name is Pradyumna, that I'm so and so, I have white skin, I have black skin, that you identify with all these temporary conditions, surely you will never be free of this suffering. So thus it is our duty that in all circumstances we draw towards the Lord. It is our duty, and Srila Prabhupada writes in a purport to the prayers of Queen Kunti. Queen Kunti, I'm sure most of you will know, in Srimad Bhagavad in first canto, is she's had a very tough life. She's probably suffered more than everyone here. Maharani Kunti has lost so many that were dear to her. But in that purport, Srila Prabhupada says there's a valuable lesson to be taken. I quote, "It is our duty," I quote, "to be undisturbed by material calamities, which are sure to happen in all circumstances. Suffering all sorts of unavoidable misfortunes, one should render devotional service, one should progress in spiritual realization, because that is the mission of life." So that's what Srila Prabhupada says, that's his opinion. It's not to say that necessarily enjoyment and suffering is so bad in the material world. If it was so bad, there would have been a much greater reaction in the world. People would have, maybe they'll have all taken to religion, maybe they'll have all gone, psychotic, they'll have all gone crazy, because they see that it's, it's just a cycle of, you're happy for a bit, now you're sad for a bit, and some people are content with that. But the more and the more they associate with the Vaishnavas, the more they read the scriptures, the more they realize how unacceptable this condition is, because this is not what we're meant for. Every time we're in a suffering mood, every time something hurts us, that's a sign that this is not what we're meant for. We used to be in the spiritual world with Krishna, and we desired to enjoy separately from him for whatever reason, I'm not sure, but we desired to enjoy separately from him. So Krishna, like a merciful father, he created this material world so that we could gratify our senses, and so that we can we can assume control over the material world. Maybe some people don't have many control. Not everyone is the prime minister. Not everyone is a team captain, whatever. But you at least have control over your body and your thoughts. Well, to a certain extent, you have control over your body. To a certain extent, you have control over your thoughts. So in order to fulfill that desire of ours, Krishna has given us our body and our mind and our intelligence. And it's he's left it for us to decide whether it's better to stay here and try to gratify your senses more and try to control the material circumstances more, or submit to the Lord Shri Krishna, and his teachings in the Bhagavad Gita. Okay, that's all I have today. Thank you for listening. If anyone has any questions, you can ask, or we can just do Kirtan. Yes, Prabhu.
No question, but thanks for the lecture.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for listening. Yes.
Really have a lot of information.
Great. That's good. Sure. In a while. Any more questions, or we can go start Kirtan. Thank you. Hare Krishna. We have class. I didn't tell you. He was very nice. Like to be saying anything else. Yeah.
Do what?
Yeah.
What do you do?